I just want to say thanks, Matt, for asking me to speak. It's only my second time on this meeting, but I really like it because I'm just sitting on my couch right now, which is super chill. Um, and I'm kind of lazy, yeah, so just like a little bit about my story, I guess. I was 22 and I got sober, and before I got sober, I was pretty much just ripping and running in Los Angeles, California. I'm originally from Oregon, but I moved down there to go to college. And basically, from the day I stepped on campus, I was like, I am going to party as much as I can. Um, and both my grandpas are alcoholics. My dad's an alcoholic. And my parents were like, you need to be careful like with your drinking because there's like a lot of alcoholism in the family. And I was like, okay, like it's just college, like I'll be fine. So fast forward, like by the time I'm a senior, drugs are a big part of my story. I was like dealing drugs and just like doing cocaine at 7 a.m., like coffee, and I had long hair and I was basically completely fucking insane. And like basically everybody was scared, everybody was worried I was gonna die, and I was not treating people very well. Um, so yeah, I like to talk more about like what happened though than like what it was like. I just know I was like super miserable. Every day I woke up, I was like, I want to die. Um, I didn't really know why. I didn't think it was because I was like doing drugs every day and drinking every day, but apparently that's why. Yeah, so I was at a music festival, and like every time I took acid, I just went like really insane and like probably should have gone to like the psych ward, but I never did. Friends just like took care of me, and so I hadn't taken acid for a long time, and I decided to take some, and I got really messed up, and I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she's like, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" And I was like, I can't stop. And I was like, I should probably go to rehab. So I had like a moment of clarity. And then 24 hours later, I was arrested for selling drugs because I had lost my mind. Um, and yeah, I detoxed in jail. It was really cold. It was a crazy experience. And like every good alcoholic, when they're in trouble, I called my mother. Um, and dude, she's like a really good Al-Anon. She was like, I'm never gonna bail you out. And I called her and she came and like bailed me out with my money, like classic. She didn't know she was Al-Anon at the time, but she started going after her. And yeah, so like I hired a lawyer, and he was like, you need to go to treatment. And I was like, for what? I'm fine. I was like, I just like the lifestyle. I'm not like a drug addict, even though in the back of my head I knew I was. And so um, my dad ended up taking me to my first meeting. It was NA. So I got clean in NA, and then I went to inpatient treatment. And they would take us to AA and NA meetings. And they took me to a young person's meeting in Eugene, Oregon. And I swear, like half my high school was there. And I was like, because I hadn't heard from all these people. These people had just kind of disappeared, and they were in AA, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is awesome. And I said what's up to them, and but yeah, I struggled. I lived in an Oxford house with a college degree. I worked at a furniture factory, and I was pretty much just batshit crazy. After treatment, I had to go back to jail for like 2 months, and that was rough, but it really taught me like how important my sobriety was, and how glad I was to be sober, because like pretty much everybody's in there for drugs and stuff like that. But yeah, so they would take us in treatment. They'd take us to this men's meeting in Eugene, Oregon called Knuckleheads. Oh, dude, I forgot to say I have like a home group and all that stuff. I have a home group. I sponsor other people. 6/23/14 is my clean date. So I just turned 5, which was cool. This is so weird because like you can't hear anybody reacting. Whatever. Okay. Um, Yeah, so they take us this meeting called Knuckleheads, and there's this dude that I knew from middle school there, and he had like a year sober, and I was like, what? Like he had a year sober, he had a car, he lived in a house that wasn't a sobriety house, he had a girlfriend, and I was like, dude, this guy is fucking living life, and he didn't seem miserable. And so he was like, I was like, do you like? I was like, what did you do? And he's like, I just work the steps with my sponsor, and like I go to meetings and I call guys in the program and I say yes to service. And I was like, oh, do you sponsor people? He's like, yeah. So he became my first sponsor, and like he changed my life with by helping me through the steps, you know. And yeah, I remember like doing my first 4 step, and it just changed my life because I became a part of, you know, I was so ashamed of who I was and the things that I had done and the resentments I had. And then I thought I was like worse than everybody and a bigger piece of shit. And then he was like, yeah, I did this that you did. I did that you did, but differently. I did this, like everything that I talked about that I was most ashamed of. He was like, I did that or worse, or I did something very similar to that. So yeah, that really helped me out. And yeah, I just like continued to work with the sponsor. I eventually got another one who was amazing. He had like 37 years and he was just like an old timer. And um, yeah, I eventually like got my shit together and was working at a prison reentry agency and realized that, you know, being of service to people coming out of prison is my passion because I never had to go. I got cut a really lucky deal because I was able to go to treatment and stay sober for my entire probation. So I eventually made it out to St. Louis, Missouri to pursue graduate school, which is something that I kind of had an idea that I wanted to do when I was using, but you know, my best idea was like, I'm gonna get a hammock so when I'm driving up and down the West Coast, like sleeping is more comfortable. I was never like, I was just kind of a gypsy. I wasn't trying to like do anything with my life. So yeah, like I'm sitting here today. It's crazy. Like I signed my first lease after like 4 years of sobriety. I was just like, because I have felonies from what happened, and I don't know, things have kind of come together. But also, like what I wanted to talk about today is like I was just meeting with the sponsee on Saturday, and he has like as much time as me, which baffles me why he'd want me to sponsor him. But that's another topic. But we were talking about how like AA is just different, you know, like when I was a newcomer and even in my first probably like 2 years, if I felt shitty, I would go to a meeting and I'd immediately feel better. You know, like even by the time we got through all the readings, like I'd just be like, oh, like I'm fine, like everything's good. And now it's like I may not have that experience with every single meeting. So like I definitely say I'm trudging along, you know, like the pink cloud is gone. So I'm just like always seeking new ways to um, experience, I guess, serenity. And I think like with from that conversation, what I'm realizing is that like talking about it is really important to me, you know? So like relating to him and being like, yo, this is like what I'm going through. He's like, I just don't go to as many meetings anymore. And I was like, let's talk about why. And I was, you know, basically experiencing the same thing. And I've been talking about it with other people in AA. I'm fucking scared, you know, because I want to stay in this program. It's given me so much and I love it. And I know that like between 5 and 10 years, like you don't see very many of us. And like I talk to, like it's just harder, it's harder to go to meetings because I have a full life. I'm not trying to have like a pity party or anything. I'm just like talking about how like my experience right now. So like just continuing to stay diligent because I know whenever I do go, like even if I don't feel how I felt when I had 30 days going to a meeting, like that amount of relief, like I still feel better every time I go to a meeting than when I got there. And it was really funny because my sponsor was like, I don't think I ever like wanted to go to a meeting. And I was like, dude, I can relate to that. But at the end, like I always feel better. So just like remembering that. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like where I'm at. I this doesn't mean that I don't like love AA. I fucking love AA. It's given me everything in life. Like I have a relationship with my family and my sister and people that I went to school with before I got sober. Like they love and support my sobriety. Like